Hey everybody, I'm Curtis.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is Love at First Fright.
I'm a weird guy in the 50s, and I'm killing irradiated beasts.
What the
It's Fallout.
Okay.
I can't use the real songs. I'll get sued.
So you decided to do a weird Muppet voice?
I'm in a Muppety mood. I got my Miss Piggy shirt on.
That's true. That's true. I'm wearing my Kermit and Miss Piggy shirt.
Yep.
Anyway.
If you don't know what Fallout is, then you're probably very confused by what you've just heard.
I know what Fallout is, and I'm confused about what I just heard.
Well, the show came out
Yeah.
pretty recently,
Mm-hmm.
and that made me want to try Fallout 4, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I started playing the video game on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite part is the tunes and the weird futuristic but still 50s aesthetic.
Yeah, like the atomic era
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you've been playing that a lot. I started playing it again as well, kind of alongside you. But then I decided I really wanted to give Red Dead Redemption 2 a chance.
Yeah.
Because I've had it for a while, but I've never actually played the story. And it's supposed to be a really good story. So far it is.
Yeah. My TikTok For You page believes that I'm a Red Dead Redemption 2 girly, because I get a lot of out of context clips of Arthur on his horse, just a man on his horse, but I know nothing about
That's
what's
pretty
going
much
on.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just Arthur, and he's like, good boy. Or good girl. Depending on your horse.
Now put a horse in Fallout, and then we'll talk.
There you go.
Weird irradiated.
They would be like mutated horses.
Oh,
though.
definitely.
They'd probably be trying to kill you.
You probably.
If the deer have 2 heads,
Then
the horse
a horse has gotta have at least 4, just by...
Because it's a horse?
Yeah, I guess. It's bigger. It's at least 2 deer. And that's just science.
That's just science, and if you have a problem with that, you can sit yourself out.
You
No. No. Hey, I'm gonna copyright strike. I'm copyright striking our own podcast to take this down. I can't have that. But yeah, you've never played them before, so...
Yeah, I've only ever seen some gameplay, because like people I know have played the game, so I've like watched bits and pieces here and there. So I knew a little bit going into it about the story, but I didn't know, like I had just scratched the surface of what it was about. But the show really kind of pushed me to actually check it out for real.
One of my favorite things about watching you kind of make your way through the story is that you've not played any of the Fallout games before.
Mm-hmm.
And without any like prodding from me to have this opinion, you just have decided that you don't like the Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah, I don't. I'm using them exclusively for their power armor.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the most out of the interaction, definitely. They think they're getting something from me,
Yeah.
but no.
Yeah.
I come out on top.
Anyway.
Yep.
That's kind of what we've been doing.
Yep. A lot of Fallout.
There's a
in
lot
this
of
house.
that. You've been getting off of work and then sitting on the couch and playing Fallout.
Yeah, so
And-
I moved from sitting all day in my office chair to sitting all night on my sofa.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I'm very sedentary right now.
But for a good cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
I can play Settlement Building Simulator 3000.
Yeah, you do a lot of the settlement building.
Yeah.
A lot of the settlement
I
building.
like it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I like to decorate.
It's your game. You do what you want to do.
That's right.
Meanwhile, in my save, I have barely put enough beds for the settlers in there, and if they even remotely are like, we're a little unhappy, and I'm like, too bad, Play a board game.
My Sanctuary Hills now has a full-service Slocum's Joe with a donut fryer and a coffee maker and a uniformed worker.
I built a large shack and put one chest in there.
And you said, this is my chest.
And I said, that's mine if I catch any of you using it.
You're out of the
I almost
settlement.
executed one of the settlers for using my power armor that I don't use, that I was just stashing at there.
Well, that's your own fault for leaving the fusion core in there.
Yeah.
But
I need it ready to go in case I need it.
Right.
And Sheffield doesn't need it. Anyway. Let's talk about the movie that we watched.
That's what we're all here to talk about.
Yeah.
Horror movies.
Yeah, and this time we watched The Lost Boys. I forgot.
I thought you were checking a text.
I thought I got a work thing, so I had to check really quick. But it wasn't. It was a random text message.
Yeah.
For a TikTok that I will watch later.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
So, yeah.
we watched The Lost Boys.
Yes, he said it with confidence that time.
Yeah, now I know.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the cool kids Peter Pan hangs out with.
Right. Well, I think it's kind of a reference, but yeah.
Yeah, but don't confuse them with it. It's referencing it, but it's not the same.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah. I mean, we only spent a little bit of time with those Lost Boys, so like maybe that's what they're doing.
Maybe this is like alternate universe, like diverging timelines.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway.
In this one, they're in California.
We're not going to theory craft it.
They're sexy street toughs.
Yeah.
In a little biker gang.
Yeah, named Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
He's got a cool mullet.
And a very blonde beard.
And his little teefers.
Kiefers for teefers.
It's like a terrible cereal slogan.
Yeah, Kiefer's teefers. Kiefer's teefers.
This is a nightmare.
I know, I've gotten so off track. I have the late night zoomies and it's only like 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, back on track.
Yeah.
The Lost Boys. This is a 1987 masterpiece.
Yeah.
Of a little it actually does bill itself as a horror comedy.
It does, which is good.
I think you need to have that mindset going into it.
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of a campy monster movie.
Yes.
But that's part of the appeal. It's not super duper scary. It's not like really intense or anything.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of humor. You know, obviously we have like some 80s icons in there, cracking jokes and striking poses and wearing funny outfits, and so it's very fun.
They're not funny, okay? They're cool outfits.
They are really cool outfits.
So like,
I was more thinking about like
name one character that has a silly outfit in the
Corey
movie.
Feldman in his little camo get up when he's getting ready to kill the vampires.
No, that outfit's sick as hell. How can they even find him?
Yeah, he was wearing nothing, which I thought was kind of inappropriate. But anyway, it's a great movie. This is a movie that I have a lot of nostalgia for.
Me too.
This is a movie that we had the VHS in my family's movie closet growing up. And it was a horror movie that I checked out pretty young because honestly, my parents were not supervising me. So I watched a lot of horror movies, but this was a favorite. And this one I think is actually probably the most appropriate because it's more of a comedy compared to some of the other stuff I was getting into.
Sure. Only you know, so you can be the judge of that one.
Yeah, and I will. And I have.
Yeah.
But yes, 1987. So we've got peak late 80s, early 90s vibes. This is a very aesthetic movie.
Yeah.
It just like even the first, and I do want to get to it, but just even like the first, when the credits are kind of rolling on the screen in the beginning, it's just like this crazy late 80s montage of people, and it's just so satisfying. But to get a little bit into the background of this movie, so it was directed by Joel Schumacher. And it was written by 3 people, Jeffrey Boehm, Janice Fisher, and James Jeremias. And I think it was based on like a short story or something that the last 2 wrote together, and then it got turned into a screenplay.
Cool.
But anyway, it has a great cast. Obviously, we've already mentioned Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
He plays David. And then we also have Jason Patric playing Michael Emerson, who's kind of our main character, like a late teen boy. His little brother, Sam Emerson, is played by Corey Haim, who, of course, is also another 80s icon.
Yep.
Their mother, Lucy Emerson, is played by Diane Weist, who's also very famous, of course. The rest of the cast are not quite as popular, at least today. We have their grandpa, who's Bernard Hughes. We have the girl that Michael is into, but she's already kind of tangled up with David. Her name is Star. She's played by Jamie Gertz. And then we have like the rest of David's gang and a couple other random people.
Yeah.
But that's the...
And who plays Max? Does it list?
Who plays Max? Edward Herman.
Okay, cool.
I think is how you say that. There's a lot of R's in
I feel like he's like the one other one we really we gotta like talk about there. The rest of like David's gang can just be David's gang.
They're just David's
no
gang.
Disrespect to the actors who portrayed them or anything like that. But like we know why you're there.
Yeah.
And it's to get murdered later. You are cannon fodder.
Yes, yes. So just to give kind of, a little brief overview of what this movie is about, it follows 2 teenage brothers who are moving with their divorced mother to Santa Carla, California, which is a fictional city. They're moving with their mother to Santa Carla only to discover that the town is a haven for vampires.
Yeah.
So, spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't figure that out by us talking about
Teefers.
Yeah, Kiefer's teethers.
Yeah, so that's the
sounds like a weird dentist.
Kiefer's teethers.
Come on down. Get your set of Kiefer's teethers today.
If you let me write my name on them, they're half off.
Why would he do that?
It's advertising.
What is he writing him on there with?
I don't know. I'm not a dentist.
Okay. As though that's a thing dentists do.
I'm sure there's a way. He'll engrave it on tooth gems or something.
She's laser etching the teeth. That's a Kiefer's Teethers special.
Oh, that's how you know they're genuine Kiefer's Teethers.
Only the real Kiefer's Teethers will have laser etching on each tooth.
So anyway.
That's the movie.
We're done, guys. I gotta go to bed.
It's David Kiefer Sutherland being portrayed, or portraying David.
He's a mad dentist.
He's a crazed dentist.
This is a good movie, right?
Write it down.
Write it down. TM.
Hold on.
That's for us. But anyway, so that's kind of the hook of this movie, is that they get involved with this local kind of, I guess you would kind of describe them as a gang. Yeah. They're like kind of a biker gang type group. They're punks. Yeah, basically. they're basically just like
leather jacket wearing, dirt bike riding. I jokingly
said street toughs, but that's kind of what they are. Yeah. But they kind of get caught up in this whole wild web through sort of a chance encounter with this group. And then, yes, this town of Santa Carla, California, it's sort of like nicknamed. They see it on the back of the billboard as they come into town that it's the murder capital of the world. So it's already an environment where a lot of people view it as like an unsafe place to live, that there's a lot of crime.
It's so funny to me that it's nicknamed the murder capital of the world. People clearly have this opinion that it's like dangerous and stuff. Every scene of the boardwalk, day and night,
it is packed to the gills.
With people. You would think people only live on the boardwalk. Yes. That's how many people are there.
It's so many people.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is like oozing with 1980s like aesthetics and vibes.
We've got the hair, we've got the outfits, we've got the lingo.
There was a man like 10 minutes into the movie playing the saxophone on stage in this band, and he's like shirtless, fully oiled up, and he's just like ripping into a saxophone.
Yeah. So I actually looked this up later because I was like, what's that? His name is Tim Capello, and we're in love. But
okay, why?
No, he's in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah,
he was apparently Tina Turner's saxophonist, but he was known. I know, right? He was like very well known for being kind of this like Fabio of the saxophone. Like apparently he would always be like oiled up like that and shirtless, and he'd be like gyrating on stage, and he was very over the top.
And they got him in Santa Clara?
They got him in Santa Carla?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's who that was.
That's where half the budget went.
I know, right? But yeah, there's so many things like that where it's just like one of the first nights that they're there, they just go to a random, it seems unofficial because there's just like large like garbage bins
like
on
oil
fire.
Drums that are filled with stuff and being lit on fire, and they're standing right next to them.
But then later someone else, like we follow the mom, and she's listening to the live concert on a radio.
It sounds like it's on the radio.
Official in some way.
So yeah, like it's weird. Either that concert's happening within earshot of where the mom is, or it's on a radio, which like
doesn't make any sense.
It's really weird, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
One other thing right at the very beginning of the movie, you mentioned the kind of like title or credit sequence that's happening, and they are playing People Are Strange
by the Doors.
Yeah, by the Doors. And during that they're like it's like a montage of just people all over.
Yeah, it's like people on the boardwalk, on rides and stuff.
Michael is like talking to some dude on the street as they're like getting some things.
He like pops out of the car on their way in.
Yeah, and he's like, is there any work around here? And the guy says, nothing legal. And then it like keeps going. We just immediately go from that. And both you and I looked at each other. We're like, what does he know?
What is going on?
Like, it cuts away, but the rest of that conversation is, you got 2 kidneys still? Because I know a guy who'll take one.
You okay to kill? You have blood in your heart.
like that guy is wild.
Yeah. So it is funny because the whole time they're telling us, hey, this is a very dangerous place. Yeah. People die all the time. There's all this like criminal activity and all this stuff. They tell us that constantly. But then to our same point, like the boardwalk is always filled with like happy families.
Yeah. Like, there's just kids wandering around aimlessly on this boardwalk.
And I know it was the 80s, but like it looks like a tourist destination.
Yeah.
Like it looks like at a local amusement park or a boardwalk. But it looks like super well populated. So I'm just trying to imagine like Coney Island. Mm-hmm. But everyone's like, oh, Coney Island, the murder capital of the world.
Yeah, where everyone's street tough, like spinning chains and riding dirt bikes over each other or whatever.
So anyway, that was really funny to me.
Yeah.
But, the mom is bringing her 2 teenage sons for kind of a fresh start. We don't get really into it very much, but
all we get is that she's divorced.
Yeah, she's divorcing their dad, and she has moved to Santa Carla to move in with her dad.
Yeah.
He's kind of this weird, like, he's not exactly a hippie, but he's kind of like weird and eccentric.
He's an eccentric grandfather.
Yeah.
He's got like a room just filled with taxidermy.
Yeah, taxidermy everywhere.
He's got an old car that's like really nice and fixed up, but he doesn't drive it anywhere.
Yeah, he's growing like a marijuana plant on his porch. Like he's kind of all over the place. He's an oddball, definitely.
Yeah.
But, they're moving in, and I think it's supposed to be like the summer, because they never make any reference to like having to go to school or anything. So I'm guessing it's just the summer before they would be returning back. So, you know, they're trying to settle in. They go to random concerts with shirtless saxophonists and, you know, have a good time until Michael sees a girl. Star
is the character's name. While they're at the concert, and he starts kind of stalking her.
Yeah, low key. Like, I think they wanted it to be like a sweet thing, but he's just staring this woman down.
So I think the thing is, though, is like we can read into that and say that, like, yeah, it's weird because he's like stalking her. Yeah. He's definitely being like vampire charmed.
I would think so.
Into that.
Yeah. I don't think you know that at the time.
No, you don't know that at the time, but later when she like confronts him later, she explains a whole bunch of stuff and basically says that she was supposed to lure him.
Yeah.
Because she liked him.
Right.
And all of this stuff. Anyway, so he's like definitely got like basically vampire magic happening to him when this happens. And then he meets David and the gang.
Again, they're these, you know,
they're really
tough
cool
guys. They got leather jackets on, mullets.
Yeah. They're cool.
A bandana tied around their ankle for some reason. Hey. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, during this time, Sam goes off and goes to this comic store, I guess that's on the boardwalk, and that's where he meets the Frog Brothers.
Yep.
And they, you know, kind of rag on him a little bit, because Sam is kind of dressed like, he's got like the shoulder pad, like blazer on, and like a really flashy, like button up.
He's very like corporate 80s, like prep guy.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
So he doesn't really like fit in with like what most of the other people are kind of dressed up around.
Yeah, everyone's more kind of punk and tough.
So he walks into this comic store and they like kind of make fun of him a little bit, but then he's like, you can't put this Superman next to this one because they haven't even introduced this yet.
Yeah, he dazzles them with his comic book knowledge. Yeah. And then they're like, whoa, this guy's
this guy knows what he's talking about. And so then they give him a comic about vampires, and he's like, I don't like horror comics, and they're like, just read it anyway. So that kind of starts his whole
so we have the introduction to like vampire lore very early on, and there's also like pretty early on there's some foreshadowing, because there's like a guard that kicks out David and his street toughs, and then later we like see the guard, you know, in the
Kiefer
parking
and
lot.
His Kiefer.
Kiefer
his merry band of Tiefers.
But we see that guard later on, like, walking to his car, and then, like, we don't actually see what is attacking him.
Yeah, they do this really cool thing throughout the movie whenever the vampires are kind of in flight, and it works really well throughout the movie, but especially leading up to the reveal, like, the full reveal that they are vampires. By you get this, like, weird, like 1980s kind of drone shots.
It's the introduction to the old Goosebumps series.
Oh yeah,
where it was like you get this like fast moving perspective through like a spooky environment.
Yeah, and it's like it's always like just really high up in the air, and then it like swoops down, but you never actually see it. You hear some like whooping and yelling, and so you can tell it's like a person, but you don't know what's going on. Obviously, we know it's a vampire,
right? But they do this a couple of times. Like we see a few different victims who have this fate where, you know, this weird thing is just like flying towards them, and then it rips them out of, you know, rips them off the ground and I guess kills or eats them, or you don't really know yet because it's never shown. But it is a nice little introduction to this mystery, this monster vibe.
Also, a really good way to not have to show them flying all the time, because it was 1980s and that probably would have looked like trash. We can kind of say towards the climax of this movie, they're fighting in the cabin, and there's a couple of shots where like they jump at each other in the air, and it's real quick, but like you'll see them and you can see when like they lift into the air and it's like green screen and it looks kind of shitty. Yeah. So it's a good way to not have to have that all throughout the movie, which I think helps it hold up really well.
Yes. So. Yeah, it's fun. They play with some of this vampire, they kind of toy with some of the like tropes of vampirism. You know, they keep up some of the things, like you have to be invited inside, and like holy water, and a stake through the heart and all that stuff, but then they kind of like tease some other things, like they imply that garlic would be effective on a vampire, but then it turns out to be, you know, a myth.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like toying around with vampires as a concept, and it that's where I think some of the comedy comes in, is that it's very much like, especially because our experts, our subject matter experts in this movie are the Frog Brothers. So we have these like preteen boys who are, or like young teen boys.
Yeah, they're the same age as Sam, and he's like, what?
14-ish,
14,
I don't
something
know.
like that.
But like they're our experts.
Yeah.
And they learned everything they know from comic books.
Yeah.
So like they act tough and they act like they're experts and like they know everything, but they don't. You know, it would be like me saying that I'm a vampire expert just because I've like read Dracula, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. That comes up right at the end of the movie too, when they kind of point out that, I mean, there's little hints all throughout it that they don't really like fully know what they're doing. It's a really fun ride. It's like packed into an hour and a half. It's not a long movie at all. It kind of clips along at a pretty good pace, and they get into it when Michael gets turned into I guess a half vampire is the thing. So he is tricked into drinking the blood of David, and that's how he becomes a half vampire. During the scene where he is tricked into drinking this blood, it's one of the scenes that like it's more gross out than it is like scary. It's the second time that he sees Star, and he's like gonna take her to like go get some food or whatever, but then David shows up and kind of challenges him to like a race, but like not quite a race kind of a thing. They have to go race to like this bluff that overlooks where this lighthouse is or whatever. You know, they're driving up there, and then he like wipes out Michael wipes out specifically because he sees the edge.
He bails out.
Yeah,
because they kind of get into like a game of chicken.
Yeah, and he sees the edge of the bluff, so he bails out at the end. He gets pissed off at David, and then they invite him down into this, what, as David explains, was this like really popular hotel like 100 years ago or something like that. But it was like built on a fault line, so like it collapsed and it's abandoned.
So it's like part cave, part hotel.
Yeah, it's like all messed up. It looks really cool.
It's
in
a
there.
great
It's a really cool set that they have designed in there. And it also screams, "Hey, vampires live here."
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
But so they invite Michael down into there, and they, you know, are kind of showing him around, and there's like this, there's like hostility from David to Michael, but there's also kind of like, it almost like he wants to be friends with him.
It's kind of this weird, like, he is trying to like have fun with Michael, but he also like wants to maintain his dominance over Michael. Yeah. So they kind of have this like back and forth where everything, like, even, I mean, I think even that race is a good example. Like, it got to a point where like they were all having fun, they're laughing and whooping and like having a good time, and Michael's enjoying it and David's enjoying it, but then David takes it too far. Yeah. And then, like, there's that tension, and that's what keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, they're in this, like, cave hotel thing, and then they're gonna eat some food, so they bring some Chinese from somewhere. Whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna assume the one he sends to get the food, like, flew off and just, like, stole somebody's delivery order. And because there. How else would he have it? There's no way that has working electricity, so it's just old Chinese food.
They don't have money.
No, they stole that Chinese food.
Yeah.
Anyway,
said, yoink.
Yeah. Anyway, so he brings this Chinese food out, and this is like the big gross out thing is they hand one of the little containers to Michael, and he starts eating it, and it's rice in there. Yeah. And then David looks at him, and he's like, "How are your maggots, Michael?" And Michael's like, "What?" He's like, "Maggots, you're eating maggots." And he looks down, and the container is now full of maggots, so he throws it and spits it out. Yeah. And then he looks again, and it's just white rice. It's just white rice. Yeah. And then David offers him his cup of like lo mein, chow mein, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's worms." Michael sees it as worms, and he's like, "It's not worms, it's noodles."
It's just noodles.
And then Kiefer starts eating
with his teethers.
Starts eating the noodles. And I think this is like two really cool things happen here. for me. One is it showcases that they are screwing with him by using their vampire like hypnosis and stuff on him to make him see things that aren't there.
They're having fun by like toying with him.
Yeah, they're toying with him. They could easily kill him if they wanted to, but for whatever reason that gets revealed later, they're not doing that. And I think it's actually more complicated than just the reason that gets said later. But also, it sets up why he just goes ahead and drinks the blood. Because I've said that a couple times, and you'll be like, well, why is he just drinking blood?
Why is he just casually drinking blood?
It's presented to him in, like, this really ornate wine bottle that...
it's a vampire's blood, definitely.
David uncorks. And Star even tells Michael, don't drink it.
Yeah, she even says,
it's blood. But by this point, because he's been tricked twice and he doesn't really understand like how they're doing it or like what's going on or whatever,
so he's like, I'm just gonna be the tough guy and
he wants to be cool
and
impress, you know, Star and the gang and everything like that, and these are, you know, cool guys. He's like, yeah, right, and he just drinks it. Chugs that's the first part of the becoming a vampire ritual, which is interesting. Apparently in this you don't have to be, you don't get bitten, you just drink blood.
You just have to consume the blood.
And then the second part of the ritual is you have to make your first kill as a vampire. So I guess, you know, killing and drinking somebody's blood.
Right. But before that, you're kind of in this weird, like,
I think you would be what would be like referred to as like a daywalker almost. You still have like, you're still tired and you have some vampire powers, but you're not like fully in control of them.
Right.
Because like after this happens, he ends up going through it's like weird vampire puberty almost.
Yeah. Honestly, it very much gave like, you know, this is a metaphor for puberty. Because he like goes through this whole process of like his body is changing and he's grouchy and he's sassing off to his mom.
Yeah.
And
he's wearing sunglasses all the time, like indoors and stuff. And
yep.
He had already bought the leather jacket.
Yeah, he had the leather jacket already. He got his ear pierced. So, you know, he's living his life. But he's noticing these changes, but he doesn't really know what it is for a while. And this movie also kind of has a little bit of a murky timeline. It's a bit unclear how long, you know, this goes on.
Yeah.
But he does eventually meet back up with Star and everybody. Because he's trying to get answers as to like what's going on. And the thing is, like, they never just like outright tell him, but they kind of try to tell him in like a few different ways by like showing off his powers or like forcing him to use his powers in some way.
Yeah.
The group also, the Kiefer and his Teefers,
if you haven't seen this movie before and you go to watch this movie, you're gonna see Kiefer Sutherland come up on the screen and you're gonna see the other gang members and you're only gonna be able to think, oh, there's Kiefer and there's his Teefers.
There's the Teefers.
There's the backup Teefers.
Yeah, but there's like a point where Kiefer and his Teefers are like peer pressuring Michael into killing a group that we later learn.
Oh man, this was a revelation for us when we watched the credits.
When the credits are rolling. And then I just look up and I'm like, Surf Nazi 1 through 7?
Yeah, so Kiefer and the gang take Michael. He tells him like his initiation is now over and like he needs to go through with, you know, become one of them fully, kind of a thing. So they take him to this like, it doesn't matter where it is and we don't really know where it is. It's like this camp or like something, or beach party thing or whatever. Yeah. And they're watching this group of punks that, you know, mohawks and, you know, shaved heads and leather vests and whatever, and they're just like dancing around a fire and
they're having a party and whatever. They're drinking.
There's nothing that we saw that I can remember looking at that would indicate these guys as Nazis.
Yeah, I guess there was. I'm gonna need to roll the footage back.
But yeah, in the credits they're listed as Surf Nazi number 1 through
Surf
7.
Nazi number 2. It's so wild.
But yeah, so Kiefer and them jump down and start killing them and feeding on them. And this is like one of the more brutal of the scenes.
Yeah.
Up until this point, we only ever get the perspective of like kind of we're the vampire flying,
right?
And then when they go to grab somebody, we'll like, you know, it like comes down and grabs them, and then the camera changes and we see them get lifted up, but we don't ever see the vampire grabbing them, and we certainly don't see them kill the person. But in this scene, they kind of do away with that, because now we're kind of Michael in this situation where we are witnessing what is happening, and he's trying to resist this because he's seeing them like rip them apart and like throw them in the fire.
But it's kind of like starting to happen. There's sort of a level of physical transformation with vampires where they look like themselves normally, but when they get into that vampire like feeding frenzy,
they get the eyes change and their face.
They have like the really prominent brow. Yeah. It's kind of, you know, if you've ever watched like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, they also kind of did that like demonic face for the vampires. Yeah. It's kind of like that. So there is this level of like physical transformation, and Michael is sort of like, this is sort of happening to him against his will, but he's trying to resist the urge to participate.
So he does resist, and then they you know, after they finish killing the people, they kind of come up over the hill, and he's like, so Michael, now you know what we are, and you are too.
Yeah. Go ahead and join us, dog. Yeah.
Yeah, but then nothing happens with that.
Yeah, I think they are pressuring him, but I think they want him to like come to it.
They want him to willingly come to it.
They want him to become part of the gang.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're like necessarily going to force him to do it.
Right. They're not like, we'll kill you if you don't do this. But they're like, look how cool it is.
Right. They're trying to lure him in with, you know, we don't age. We don't, you know.
You'll stay young and beautiful forever. You'll never die, but you have to feed.
Yep. So they're just trying to lure him in that way. Yeah. And I mean, like, they do a good job of making it look very tempting and fun. You know, obviously they have all this like cool guy energy, and they've got, you know, the beautiful star hanging on David and stuff. Yeah. So there's sort of this sense that like, oh yeah, I would want to be a guy like that.
Yeah.
But we know what it means to be a guy like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in the background of all this, the mom is she's gotten a job at like a video store.
Yeah,
and the owner of the store, his name is Max. They're trying to start a romantic relationship. Yeah, but for one reason or another, throughout the movie, their dates get interrupted.
Usually by her kids.
Yeah, I believe so. The first time it's because she like calls home to like check and make sure things are okay, and Sam is freaking out
because he's just found out that Michael is a vampire,
right? And
Michael is like going through these changes involuntarily where he's like floating and he can't control it and stuff, and so Sam's like freaking out. He's like, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me.
So she runs away from the restaurant, and Max sees this, and so she, you know, goes to apologize. She goes to bring a bottle of wine over to Max's house, and she gets chased by his dog.
Yeah.
And then the second date that they go to have is supposed to be at her father's house where they're living, and she's making dinner, but they because Sam has discovered Michael is a vampire and wants to fix this.
Yes.
He's contacted the Frog Brothers, and their first advice is kill your brother. You're going to feel better. Yeah. Also, no, you can't save him, kind of a thing. But because Sam has started reading these comics, has come to the conclusion that, well, if we just kill the head vampire, we can save
everyone else goes back to normal.
And so they get this idea that Max has to be the head vampire. Yeah. So Michael is going out for the evening to go meet up and get some of these answers, you know, from Star or David or whoever he can get them from. And he invites Max into the house. And during the dinner, Sam has brought the Frog Brothers over.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to his mother.
Yeah.
And they're joining. So it's Sam, his mom, her date, and then two people that only Sam knows. Yes. And they are not dressed for a nice romantic dinner. Yeah. Sam kind of is. But anyway, so the scene plays out where they're having dinner, and they keep doing these tests that are
trying
supposed to
test whether Max is a vampire or not.
Yeah, they offer him some Parmesan cheese, but it's actually a bunch of raw garlic, and that doesn't do anything other than it's just raw garlic. Anybody would be like, that's gross, kind of a thing. they splash holy water on him, nothing happens, and then they cut the lights out and do this elaborate thing to, like, when the lights come back on, they have a mirror in front of him to see his reflection, which it's there,
yeah.
So they're like, well, I guess we screwed up, that's not him. But they say, Max says, you know, he's just acting out, because you know, mom's starting to date other people, and also, you know, he needs structure and whatever. So the third date is supposed to be at Max's house, and the mom goes there, and I guess for the most part that one actually goes okay.
Yeah, the third date does sort of get interrupted, but it's because before this date occurred, they decide, because Max isn't the head vampire, that David must be the head vampire. So they kind of do this elaborate thing where they get the Frog Brothers, they get Sam, they get Michael, they drive out to the Hotel Cavern, and
Hotel
California, my apologies.
Home of Kiefer's Teefers.
Yes. Hotel Teefers. What they're hoping to do is they're hoping to kill all the vampires, and then also they're trying to save Star and this, like, little boy who's part of their group, who's called Laddie, because Star and Laddie are both, like, the same as Michael in that they have had the blood, but they haven't done a kill, so they haven't turned into
and
a full vampire.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get out of this environment, and Michael wants to help them. So Michael's getting them out while the Frog Brothers and Sam go to kill the vampires while they're sleeping during the daytime.
Yeah. And they only managed to kill one of them.
Marco! With the glorious curly mullet.
Yeah, the curly mullet. They get blood sprayed all over them.
Oh, it's like very violent and glittery, which made me laugh, because I was like, is that where Twilight got it from?
It must be. When they were in the cave, you don't really see it, but when they come outside and they're in the sunlight and they're about to drive away, it's just glitter all over them. It's so funny. But yeah, they kill one of the gang, Marco, one of the Teefers. Yeah. And because it's the daytime and they're able to get out, obviously, David and the rest of them can't follow them yet, but they know that they're coming for them that night. So then they rush back home. One scene earlier, we find out that Star, the reason she kind of went after Michael was, she liked him. She just liked the way he looked, and you know, she was kind of infatuated with him, whatever. But also, David wanted for Michael to be Star's first kill, to fully become a vampire. Yeah. But she resisted doing that. So,
which I personally think is why he's putting in the effort to, like, turn him into a vampire, because I think it's also like he and Star kind of also have an unhealthy dynamic and relationship. And so I think it's kind of this thing of like, oh, I wanted you to kill this guy. You didn't do that because you genuinely like him. Yeah. So now I'm going to make him mine.
Yeah. I'm going to take him from you. Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to become a vampire. Fine. Yeah. I won't kill you to make that happen or whatever. But I will take this person that you love and show you that, like, you will never get anything you want.
And I'll just dangle him in front of you, basically.
Yeah. I think it's all really cool, kind of like subtext in there. But this all leads to the big climactic thing. We don't have to get into, like, all of it, but it is, like, the big scene at the end of the movie where they've, like, rigged up the whole cabin.
Yeah, they've done all this work to prep. So they've got holy water, and they've got traps, and they've got garlic, and they've got all the stuff, you know. Yeah,
and then, you know, one of the Frog Brothers is explaining, you know, when... I gotta warn you that, like, when one of these vamps buys it, that no two go the same, and that it's not pretty. Some of them explode, some of them implode, and we get a lot of violent, over the top, you know, kills in this.
Yes, because they're slowly taking out the Teefers.
Yeah, and then we get the big fight between. I say big fight. It is not like,
it's really not that big.
It's not that big. Yeah. Kiefer shows up and he says, "I'm gonna make you into my best Teefer of all." Yeah, and then he starts wrestling Michael,
just like that.
They both get shirtless
and they kiss.
No, they start grabbing each other in the air and, like, flying around and spinning around and stuff. And, you know, this is the whole thing with the taxidermy from the grandpa. So there's, like, these mounted deer heads, and
so they're kind of trying to, like, fight each other to impale the other one
on the antlers and stuff. Yeah, and eventually it, you know, happens where Michael's able to like turn around at the last second, kind of a thing, and he shoves David onto one and kills him. And I don't know if you caught this. So the really big reveal is that Max comes back to their house.
Yeah.
I guess at the conclusion of their date, and is like seeing...
Well, and that's what I was going to say, is that she's distracted during the date, and he asks her what's going on, and she's like, oh, my son was really freaked out about this whole vampire thing. And then he's the one who suggests, let's go check on him.
Yeah, you're right.
We think, the audience is supposed to think that he's just being supportive.
Yeah.
But...
So he shows up at the house, and it is wrecked in here. When one of the vampires dies, all of like the pipes explode with this weird gooey
there's like
glitter
guts
blood
everywhere
and guts and stuff.
And,
the main entrance is trashed. So they walk in, and things are wrecked, and then Max kind of starts walking through the house, and he finds Kiefer dead, impaled on this thing. And I don't know if you kind of registered this, but when he sees Kiefer and they do the shot on his face and he's laying there, the facial hair is gone. He's completely clean shaven.
Yeah.
So was the vampire power giving him the hair?
Yeah, I guess so.
Is that the implication?
That's
when you die,
that's one of the powers, is that you can grow a really strong beard.
So like when he dies though, he just like reverted back to normal hairless Kiefer.
I think that was kind of supposed to be the implication, is that he like went back to sort of like the innocent version.
Yeah, he looks kind of almost angelic when in that state.
I'm guessing that's why they did that.
I'm guessing
just because
so.
It was supposed to make him look more boyish.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny, but also like I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Max, comes out of there, and then he finally gives the reveal that like he was the head vampire,
he's the head
and
honcho.
He was in charge of David, and his boys misbehaved, and he really just wanted Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy's the mom.
Lucy
he
the whole time.
wanted her to be his like vampire bride.
Yeah, and that if he could turn Sam and Michael into vampires, then he could get Lucy on board.
Right.
And then Michael jumps out to try to get him, and he immediately gets tossed.
Yeah,
everyone basically gets tossed, and then Sam
so
tries to fight him, and he grabs him, and he's basically threatening.
Yeah, he's leaving it up to Lucy at that point, where he could kill any of them at any time. But he's basically kind of implying, hey, you become my vampire bride willingly or I'll kill everybody here.
And then as she's kind of submitting to this, Grandpa, who was tricked into leaving the house earlier, maybe tricked, I'm not sure. He was gone for a while. if he wasn't actually tricked. Or if he was actually tricked. But you hear the horn on his like jalopy.
Yeah. We've heard this several times.
Yeah.
It's the little
la cucaracha. Yeah. You hear that, and then Max kind of turns. Huh?
What?
And then he comes careening through the wall in the jalopy, and he's dug these like big posts out in the yard earlier, and those go flying in, and they impale Max, and he goes flying into the chimney and explodes. It's crazy.
Cinder goes everywhere.
And then, like, everyone's basically just like, whoa, that was wild. The Grandpa walks into the kitchen, grabs a root beer, and he says the one-liner that finishes the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. The one problem with Santa Carla is all the damn vampires or whatever, implying that like he kind of knew the whole time, which maybe is why he's so eccentric. And like he talks a lot in the movie about how like he doesn't go to town and he doesn't interact with people, so maybe that's why. But he's a weirdo, so who knows.
Anyway,
that's the movie.
It's a really good movie.
It's wonderful. I know that I'm probably seeing it through rose-tinted glasses because this movie was like such a big part of my like childhood and like preteens, but I think it's genuinely good.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie.
Real quick, did you have a scariest moment? It's really not that scary of a movie, but if you had one.
I don't think it's like scary, really. But if I really had to pick a scariest moment of the movie, it would be when they kill one of the first vampires in the house. They basically splash some holy water from a bathtub on him, and then the dog jumps on him and knocks him into the holy water filled bathtub, and he basically melts. He comes up out of it a couple of times, and each time he's like more and more fucked up until he's just like bones. And then that's the one that triggers like the stuff shooting out of all the plumbing and stuff. That's probably the scariest moment of the movie.
I think
but
that's
even
fair.
so, I don't think it's like that scary. Did you have a moment?
Yeah, I don't find it that scary of a movie. I will say there's probably two that stick out to me. One is more just tense. So, like, before Sam knows that Michael is a vampire, there's like a scene where he's taking a bath and his dog is at his side. And Michael is, for whatever reason, now he's really starting to, like, undergo the transformation. Like, he experiences this. And then there's this really tense scene where he's, like, slowly walking up the stairs and he's, like, standing outside the door. And you can tell that he has some kind of thirst for Sam, but there's also a part of him holding back because he still understands that that's his brother.
Yeah.
And it's just a really tense scene where the dog, like right as he opens the bathroom door, the dog jumps out and like pushes Michael down the stairs and starts attacking him. And honestly, like that part just always made me so tense growing up because I kept being like, please don't kill the dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that part's tense. I also think that they did a good job in the scene where the three boys kill Marco in the cave and all the vampires are like they're expecting them to be in coffins, but they're not. They're hanging from their feet like bats in this like very cavernous dark part of the area. And I think like that moment where they look up and see them is very creepy, and then all of them just like having this visceral reaction as Marco gets killed and they're all like screaming and their faces transform. Yeah, it's so I think that part's pretty intense too.
Sure.
But it's more, I would say it's more funny and like,
oh, for sure,
just like cool vibes.
Yeah, it's a vibes movie.
It's vibes.
For sure. Let's rate it real quick.
Yep. So I did my rating. Mine ended up being a 7.7. I will say that I think this is the first movie we've done on the pod so far that got a perfect 10 in one category, which was entertainment / X Factor.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
I gave that a perfect 10.
Yeah. I landed on an average of 7 for mine, so about a half point different.
Yeah.
I guess. I generally think it's a really good movie. Some of the performances, because it's, 1980s, are a little hammy.
They make sense for the time, but they are very...
Yeah. And if you look at it through the lens of, like, it's supposed to be a campy comedy thing, it makes it a lot better for that. But even still, some of the dialogue is just a little... Yeah. A little weird. It is extremely entertaining. I love watching this movie. It's super fun. Like I said earlier, it is an hour and a half, so it's, like, not even that big of a commitment to just throw that thing on. The soundtrack slaps.
It goes so
Thou
hard.
shall not fall.
Yeah, that song rules.
Oh, it's so good.
It's perfect.
And it comes on multiple times in the movie.
That's like for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so good. It's just so entertaining. And I mean, if it means anything, I never buy physical media because I can stream everything. And literally 5 minutes into turning this movie back on, I was like, I need to own this. Yeah. And I immediately went to Amazon to be like...
It was right after the guy...
How can I get...
It was right after the guy was like, nothing legal. And you're like, I gotta own this movie.
I gotta own this movie. Yeah. If I could find it on VHS, I would get it.
Yeah. But anyway, that totaled out for us...
to be a 7.4.
Yeah, 7.4 combined average.
Which is pretty good.
For us. Which, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty solid score for this movie. Anyway, that's kind of what I got for this one. I don't know if I have any other notes for it or whatever. Definitely watch this one. Even if you're like not super big into horror. I don't know why you're listening to this show. Whatever.
Weirdo.
But and you like kind of want to get your foot in the door, watch this one. It's really not that scary. There's a couple of moments and they're pretty, I mean, we talked about them. They're pretty telegraphed when it's going to happen.
And the thing about it too is that even with the scarier moments with the deaths and things like that, this movie takes everything up to 11. Yeah. So, like, it kind of it circles back around to just being, like, ridiculous.
There's a kill, I think, that perfectly illustrates this. Right near the end of the movie, with one of the remaining Tiefers, where Sam has a bow and arrow, and he goes to shoot, and it's honestly, the whole thing is really funny. He goes to shoot, and the vampire was like in the air jumping at him, but then he like slams onto the ground and it looks like he got hit. Mm-hmm. The angle that he hits the ground doesn't make sense for how he was like flying through the air, but like whatever. And then Sam goes up to him, like approaching him, and like, oh, is he dead? Yeah. And then he gets up and he's like, you missed, sucker. Yeah. And then he was like, only once, and then he shoots him with another arrow. And when he hits him, he goes flying backwards and into this big stereo, and it starts playing a song while the vampire is being electrocuted.
He's being like electrocuted,
and he's like shooting electricity all through his limbs and fingers and stuff until he explodes.
He
and it's
literally explodes.
It's so over the top, and during it, Sam cracks a joke, and he says "death by stereo" or whatever. So like it's just kind of silly. So.
It's like, again, like there is like blood and viscera and stuff, but it's so silly that I don't really think I don't think it would be too difficult of a watch.
No, I genuinely think this is a really good like starting point for horror stuff. Anyway, to discuss what we're going to watch next time, we're keeping the retro train kind of rolling on this one, and we're going to be watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Woo-hoo! Which I've seen like once or twice.
I've only seen once. I saw it in high school at some point. Yeah. But I honestly, like, I do remember the broad strokes, but it's been so long that I think it's going to feel pretty fresh.
Kind of same for me. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
This one's, and I know it's just straight up goofy and weird.
Yeah, this one, it's very, it's a cult classic. Yeah. It's very campy. It's very over the top. It's very B-movie, bad special effects.
Yes.
Which I'm thrilled about.
Oh, yeah.
I love
I think it's going to be great.
So I think we're going to have a good time.
So look forward to that one if you haven't seen that one.
I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. You've got the internet. Look it up.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. But yeah, you should watch that one if you want to keep up with us.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you have any suggestions,
send us your suggestions. You can email us. That's at firstfrightpod@gmail.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on X, we're on Instagram, at firstfrightpod. We also do have a Facebook page, which is Love at First Fright. So yeah, we're all the places. Feel free to send us suggestions of movies you'd like us to watch, or send us your thoughts about.
Yeah, if you want to like talk with us, or just to give us an idea of what you thought about a movie.
I have an idea. Which one of Kiefer's Teefers is the hottest? Send me your ideas.
There is a correct answer.
Yeah,
it's Kiefer.
It's his left Teefer.
Unless you're saying one of his Teefers, it can't be Kiefer. It can only be one of the three Teefers. No, I was thinking
one of the three Teefers.
Okay, so
which one of those?
Watch the movies. Do your homework.
Yes.
I don't know which the answer is. I gotta watch the movie again, but I'm gonna figure out which is the best looking.
Yeah.
Teefer.
And you can't say Star. She's not really one of the Teefers, though she is the hottest one there.
Yeah, she's kind of like a roadie.
Yeah. So anyway, tell me your thoughts about sexy vampires. Yeah. Send me your movie suggestions. Let's make it weird. Yeah.
That's going to do it for us this time.
Yep, that's all I got.
Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for checking it out.
Yep. And as always, scare well. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Thou shalt not fall when you are walking with your baby.
What the fuck is that?
It's Fallout.
What?
It's Fallout.
In what way is that Fallout?
I'm winding it in.
No, but how is that Fallout? How is what you just said Fallout?
It's 50s music.
It's not.
You're not.
You sound like the weird frog guy. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Don't you fall with that baby.
Don't eat the Chinese food. It is made of bugs.
Oh my god.